We go. We are official. So welcome. Thank you for your grace and patience this morning in particular. I want to welcome you to the pre-proposal mandatory meeting for the Children's Initiative Implementation Partner bidding process. Just going to go over some housekeeping and a quick overview. And then we'll have the nitty gritty details of how do you submit um, your actual bid via iSupplier and some really important reminders related to the RFP. One thing that I will ask you is that you add your full name and organization to the chat. We want to make sure that we record all organizations that are here and present today. When you entered into the room, you are muted. You do have the ability to unmute yourself. I ask you to do that with kindness because we do have a large group today. This session is being recorded. This one will be posted to the Children's Initiative website. We'll post a link in the chat in just a little bit so that you have the link ready and available. That should be up by the end of this week, no later than. And if you have any questions, I know you will have a lot. I ask that you wait until the full presentation is completed because your question might be answered in that. So please take note of those questions as we're kind of going through the presentation. And you'll also have an opportunity to submit your questions via chat. I'll work to monitor that closer to the end when we get to the Q&A portion of this session. Okay. So what I want to do is do a presentation of just our city staff that are here with us today and give them some acknowledgement. Some will be presenting, some will not. They are joining us. So first and foremost, Mary Mayberry. Mary, if you could give us a little wave. She's the Director of Workforce and Employment Standards. She's been a great support system in getting this RFP launched. Paula Peeve, she's an administrative analyst. She'll be doing part of the presentation later today. Vivian Iman, she's contract compliance officer with the same office, DWES, also be presenting later this morning. Tanya Gilmore is assistant to the city administrator. Thank you so much. She's been giving me all the ins and outs of how to get this moving. So thank you for that. And Angela Robinson Bignong, she's a deputy city administrator, also an amazing support in this process. Thank you for being here today. And last but not least, myself, Jennifer Cabang. I am super fresh. This is my third week here as the Children's Initiative Accountability Officer. So very excited and learning a great deal in this process. So you should have this information already. This is listed on the website. It's basically the charter amendment, which passed in 2018 and is just getting implemented now after pending litigation. And really the work here is to expand access to high quality early childhood education and to also providing college access and expanding those particular opportunities. What I'm going to do is just do a quick summary of the outcomes that are expected. These are listed out in the RFP, so they shouldn't be a surprise. They're just a summary of that. So essentially, this increased overall attainment, this is really the expanding access component. The implementation partner will also need to develop an external evaluation component. That will be done in partnership with the city. So don't feel like you'll just have to make something up, make something new. We can get creative and innovative around that particular piece, ensuring professional development and coaching for educators. And this is specifically for the early childhood funding partner. Ensuring funding streams for federal, state, and local are coordinated. We don't want to see supplantation, and we want to make sure that we have effective and efficient braiding of funding because the ECE world is pretty complex in that particular way. expanding higher quality. And so this, some folks may know there's a quality rating improvement system, and that's being discussed, but systems like that is what we are considering. This is from Oakland Province. And those are the 5 focus areas. There's a little bit more robust language in the RFP, but these are the expected outcomes for our early childhood implementation partners. And now for the Oakland Promise Fund implementation partner. Again, this is around expanding college readiness, access, and affordability to those with the highest need. There's a focus on early college savings. So providing expectations and resources to attend college, college awareness, college affordability, increasing college admission. So making sure that and this is, just not college, also career. There's 2- and 4-year technical, again, more robust language within the RFP, increase full-time persistence, and ensuring graduation rates within the 6 years of their going to school. I just want to remind you, I know that the funding is listed for only fiscal year 22-23, but this contract is going to be a period for 5 years from the date of execution. So just be mindful about that. And any extensions will be based on evaluations and grant monitoring reports, again, in partnership with the Oversight Commission in the city of Oakland, and just overall grant performance. This is an overview of the numbers. I know sometimes reading kind of like the dense RFP, this makes clear in what bucket and what the percentage version, a little over 23 million for early childhood, 11.5 for Oakland Promise Fund, and part of the evaluation and administration for actually the Children's Initiative within the city is 2.6 million. Okay, I'm going to stop here. We'll get back to that in just a particular second. The information that I just shared should not be new to you. It will take a minute to review the question. But I'm going to hand it over to my partner, Paula, who will get us started in terms of iSupplier and requirements in order to submit the bid. Paula, are you ready to go?
I am, Jennifer. Thank you. I don't know if I can turn the camera on. I'm in the office and it doesn't seem like it's going to work. So welcome again, everyone, to our pre-proposal meeting for this RFP for the Measure AA Children's Initiative Implementation Partners. The RFP is available in iSupplier. So the RFQ number in iSupplier for this RFP is 269454. And just to let everyone know that all vendors or grantees that are planning to participate must register through the iSupplier portal in order to receive direct notifications regarding this RFP, and also if there are any changes for this RFP. Also, if you are awarded a grant or a contract, the invoice payments will also go through the iSupplier system. Additionally, RFPs for any future RFP notifications also will go to anyone that is registered automatically if they are registered with their business products and services updated in the system. Now, if you're experiencing any technical difficulties with registration or access, please email isupplier@oaklandca.gov and advise us that you need to expedite the registration for this RFP. And once you have completed your registration, please email iSupplier again to let us know that you have completed your registration and that you would like to be invited to this RFP. It's helpful if you put in the RFQ number in the subject line of the email or the title of the RFP. Again, the RFQ number is 269454. And if you have any questions for our department contracts compliance, or for Jennifer, please get those in by the 16th at 2 p.m. And that would be to Jennifer. If there are any technical questions that will be, those will be available. The questions and answers will be available in iSupplier as well. So yes, it's important to have your registration all set so that you can receive the information, as well as submitting your proposal. So for this RFP, the proposals due on 9/21 at 2 p.m. Through iSupplier. And again, iSupplier will not allow late submissions. It will close exactly at 2. So please make sure that you are in there and have your proposals in before the cutoff. And if you have any issues with the submissions, we do have a user guide online on our website, as well as you can email us so that way we can assist you. But please do not wait till the last minute, because you might miss the deadline. And then with your submissions, there are also schedules that are required. The schedules that will be required with the proposal would be E, I, O, and W. Please be sure to complete, sign, and submit them with your proposal. And that is all I have for my presentation.
Paula, is Vivian joining us to provide additional information?
Hello, good morning. This is Vivian Inman. I am here. Thank you. Thank you.
Ms. Mary.
Again, it's Vivian Inman. I am the Senior Contract Compliance Officer for this project. I'm going to address information regarding the city's local and small local business program. The city's local and small local program requires that 50% of the contract dollars of any project be awarded to our certified local and small local business enterprises. There's a couple of ways of meeting this requirement. You can partner with a 25% by using 25% local business and 25% small local business. When we reference local and small local businesses, we are referencing certified businesses with the city of Oakland, not businesses certified with the Port of Oakland nor certified with Alameda County. They must be certified with the city of Oakland in order to be counted towards those requirements. We do have a certification process for firms that are not currently certified. If you are going to partner with a firm that is not currently certified, please make sure to notify us as soon as possible so that we can get that firm certified in order for them to count. Again, the certification must be with the city of Oakland. A lot of companies will make that error with the port and the city and Alameda County. I must emphasize it has to be with the city of Oakland. Now, the 50% requirement, when you meet it, it gives you incentives for meeting that requirement. If you achieve 50%, you will get 2 preference points added onto your proposal. 60% will give you 4, 60% will give you 3, 70% will give you 4, and you'll max out at 5% or 5 preference points at 80%. Here is the way you do this. Now, the city of Oakland has a directory of certified businesses. You can go online and get that directory, or if you are having trouble maneuvering through the city's website, we can provide you a list of certified businesses. It will encompass the entire list of certified businesses under the professional services realm, and you'll have to wiggle your way through that to find out what you are looking for. The city of Oakland utilizes the NAIC, its codes, to determine what is a local and what is a small local. Let me define what a local is. A local business is a certified business that is headquartered here in Oakland. Okay. The second category, small local, also certified here in Oakland, but it has a specific size standard based on the NAICS code. Third category, in order to meet this, is a very small local business. The very small local business is double counted towards meeting the requirement, i.e., if you give that firm 12.5%, then when it comes to compliance for review, it's double counted to 25. There, you have 25% small local, and then you have another 25% that you have to meet. You can utilize that LBE firm. Okay. If you have a firm that is in the process of getting certified or recertified, please contact us so that we can push this through. We put them on the top of the list if they're bidding on a project. The contact person for that certification would be Ernestine Nettles at enettles@oaklandca.gov. And she and I will help you get through this process and get them certified. There are other incentives for utilization of our small local businesses. And one of them is the certification. The certification, if you've been doing business in the city of Oakland for a period of 1 year, you get additional preference points and max out at 2.5. So here you have the maximum amount for participation is 5. And then you have another 2.5 for years of service in Oakland. That's an incentive. So we have 7.5. The next category is firms that have a workforce here in Oakland. This is for certified businesses only, and it must be the prime, not a sub consultant, but the prime consultant. Has a workforce of Oakland employees, then you get another 2%. Max out, you can get additional 12.5% on your proposal, or 12.5 points on your proposal, if you meet the city's requirements and achieve at least a 50%. That, in a nutshell, is the city's process. Again, you will have to make sure that your firm is certified, or any of your sub-consultants are certified in order to be counted. Firms that are not certified will not be counted towards the requirement. Paula just mentioned some schedules that have to be submitted. There is what we call the Schedule E. The Schedule E is the project consultant team listing. All firms, all prime consultants, primes, are required to submit that Schedule E with their proposals. Okay, that Schedule E will list the prime's name at the top and the bottom, as well as any sub-consultants will be also listed at the bottom. That is how we determine compliance. So you have XYZ company listed as one of your sub-consultants. We will go into our database to double check the certification status of XYZ company. If they are certified by the time these proposals are due, then they will be counted. If they are not, they will not be. And I emphasize that because a lot of firms do make that mistake and say that this company is located in Oakland, they should be an Oakland business, Oakland certified. But please, when you are seeking companies, please make sure you get a copy of a letter stating that they are actually certified. Another mistake, they assume that because they are in Oakland, they're certified businesses. That is not quite correct. Okay. Now, when we get the proposals in, we're going through the proposals, we're looking at them. There is another schedule that can be submitted 4 days after your proposal is due, and this will support you're getting any preference points for having an Oakland workforce. That schedule is a Schedule E2. And a brief description of what you're doing with Schedule E2 is that you are listing all your employees that are located here in Oakland, that have a residence here in Oakland. Along with that Schedule E2, you have to submit documentation to show proof that they are here in Oakland, i.e. a driver's license, utility bill. Any of those documents will support the fact that they are here in Oakland. The last item that firms generally forget is what we call a quarterly tax statement. In reference, it used to be called DE6. We call it DE6/DE9 because a lot of people are familiar with the words with the DE6 acronym. You have to submit the last quarterly statement that has been filed with EDD in order to support the fact that these are Oakland residents. I know I keep saying that there's a few things that firms will make the mistake of doing. Because that
Thank you, Vivian, for your presentation. Why don't I do just the friendly reminders, and then we'll open it up for questions. I see there's some coming in the chat already. So I'm going to share my screen again. Please be patient. Okay. Now let's get this expanded so you can actually see everything. Okay, so important reminders. These are some things that I just want to make sure that we emphasize throughout this process and for folks to keep mindful of as they're building out their proposals. So this is something that Vivian and Paula have gone through. Just make sure that you are very familiar with the number of policies that are listed throughout the RFP, and so that you have no disqualifying items. Cannot stress this enough. I know the turnaround time is extremely tight, but proposals are due no later than Wednesday, September 21st at 2 p.m. Pacific time. Please make sure that you kind of get your kinks out and it is submitted by 2 p.m. I've already heard that the system will not let you do it a second later, so please be mindful of this particular deadline. Related to RFP, particularly scope of work and narrative components, iSupplier is supported by DWES. So if you have any questions whatsoever in terms of the RFP, the scope of work, the deliverables that are listed out there, I am open and available to do so until Friday, September 16th at 2 p.m. As we've noted previously, these questions get recorded and need to be put out to the public. So I need some time to actually get those written down and sent out to the group so you all have the same information accessible to you. So again, just kind of note this in the back of your mind that I will be available for any questions. And my contact information, you should already have it, but it will be listed later on in this presentation. Some notables that I want to express to you at this particular time is that, again, the amount in fiscal year 22-23 is only listed for a year because we haven't received the projections for the following few years for the contract. So that's what's listed on the RFP because that's a known. So that's one. We anticipate that the available funding in this year 1 will be equivalent in the future years at minimum. So that is an expectation that we have. As a reminder, again, this is a 5-year contract that you are bidding for. In terms of your narrative, I want you to be mindful and encourage folks that when you're developing your proposal, demonstrate how your organization would implement as either the Early Childhood or Oakland Promise Fund implementation partner, the scope of work that is outlined in the RFP, how you're going to make progress towards that measure, those measures in the next 5 years. So when you're developing your proposal, in considering your development of your proposals, that 5 years for budget, staffing, overall planning, your strategy, your milestones, your outcomes, potential partnerships, those sorts of things over the lifespan of the contract, not just one fiscal year. Again, we've listed what we know will be available in this fiscal year. But we anticipate the minimum of that same amount over the next several years. So please be mindful. We want to see how you can make these outcomes possible and actual in the city of Oakland and have that impact. Sorry. Although it's listed out in the RFP, those questions guide you in terms of this response, speaking of the demographics, your performance, all the minimum qualifications are outlined in the RFP. Timeline. Every date that you need to know is listed here related to this process, right? So we are currently right here in this pre-proposal meeting. It's a mandatory meeting in order for you to submit your bid. Application deadline is here. We will be reviewing those proposals at the end of September. And I would plan, for those who get to the interview process, that we will do those in the first 2 weeks of October. Again, that's going to be the scheduling will be dependent on the panelists availability and also the partner availability, but I will work to get that scheduled with you all. What happens moving forward is listed out there. We anticipate that this contract will get started by January 1st, 2023, assuming we meet all these deadlines and council approves. Some other reminders: make sure you're reaching out to your partners. You get all the documentation that's required to the city to get that on there. That includes the small business. We'll more detailed and kind of the evaluation performance metrics components will be discussed in during that contract negotiation period. And the tax license component. And there's some questions I saw in the chat, so we'll get those answered in a second. These are your contact information. You have the Nettles email in the chat. But anything technical assistance wise in terms of the RFP, feel free to reach out to me. I will be available. I mean, I'm always available, but in terms of the questions related to this specific RFP till the 16th, and then you have your others. So feel free to make sure you note these particular emails because they're your go-to people in this process. Just a little bit more on the RFP review process. So the initial review. So once you get that submitted on the 21st, staff will make sure that you qualify, you filled out all the forms, you have all the supporting documents in order to qualify for the RFP process. We will have a group of panelists that will, that are currently being recruited to review and score the applicants. Please know that in making, funding recommendations, we will take into consideration the panelists' scores and rubrics. And then that funding recommendation, once decided, then needs to get vetted by our oversight commission to get feedback. But the final funding decision will be dependent on City Council. Until they approve that, we cannot move forward with any recommended implementation partner. You will be notified as soon as possible throughout the process. I noted the RFP timeline. Those are your key dates, and you have my contact information. So I'm going to pause there. I know there's a lot of questions. I'm going to stop sharing and then open it up for questions. And in the meantime, I'll review what is in chat. So feel free to unmute yourself at this time or raise your hand and share any questions that you might have based on the information that's been provided today. Is this process clear as mud? Okay. So I see one question from Monica. Is an organization's Oakland business tax certificate the same as its Oakland business license? And I'll hand that over to the DWES team.
Yes, it is. It's the same thing. Business tax, business certificate are the same, yes.
Excellent. Will you be posting answers to questions on an ongoing basis or after the 16th deadline? So it will be on an ongoing basis as I receive them. Also be mindful, I have to type them up and do the process to get them submitted. So there's not a ton of turnaround time by the 16th, but yes, they will be done on an ongoing basis. And city staff, please correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. Next up, many of the RFP questions and SOS appear to be aimed to direct service providers. Our understanding the role as the implementation partner may also be a pass-through role. How would you like agencies who are not direct service? So essentially, your business, what you are providing to the community. And if you're going to be a pass-through, I think about like the partnerships, like what does that pass-through look like? How do you partner with organizations to realize the outcomes that are listed out in the RFP? And I will note that this language is specifically from the ordinance. So it's like verbatim of what was planned in implementation. Some of it is vague. And so based on the perspective of your organization, I would say answer it to the best of your ability. And we want to see kind of the vision, right? Like these are the outcomes. And even if you're a pass-through agency, this is how we see this playing out over the next 5 years. Okay, next question. Do we need to submit a separate billing rate list, or will our project budget and budget narratives fulfill the requirement since it will include all pay rates and benefits? I will also pass this to DWES.
Sorry, could you repeat that one more time?
Sure. Do we need to submit a separate billing rate list, or will our project budget and budget narrative fulfill this requirement since it will include all pay rates and benefits? How should this show up in the proposal?
Jennifer, I'd like to take that question offline and discuss it with you. And then we can get the response out to the participants, okay?
Okay, sounds good. So Monica, that will be in the Q&A, the addendum that gets provided afterwards. We will keep you posted. Next question, do you anticipate awarding one organization the entire contract or several organization entities to implement different aspects of the scope of work? So it depends on the application. The reason why it's in one, because it is feasibly possible that there could be some unicorn agency that's able to provide both. But if not, it would be a one-in-one situation. So when preparing your bids, you're either doing one, either the early childhood or college access component, or you are submitting for both. And so it's going to be dependent on the other proposals that we receive and kind of like that built vision, right? That to achieve the outcomes listed in the RFP. Okay. Regarding the actual submission, should everything be in single PDF or any other parts be uploaded separately? I'm going to pause on that question. And again, DWES, is there a preference on how that is uploaded into iSupplier? I think it's one document, but not certain.
I believe it should be one document.
Okay, so we're looking at one PDF document to be submitted as a whole in your application. Second component of the question is regarding to schedules. And Vivian, you might be able to answer this. I think you covered this in your presentation. confirming that the checklist in the RFP is complete and the only schedules we are required to submit are E, I, O, and W. As for Schedule E, how are we to use this since we aren't hiring contractors? Are we required to submit this?
Yes, you are required. First, let me start with the first part. Those are the only schedules you have to submit at the time of your proposal, correct? Yes, although you don't have any sub-consultants or participating on the project with you, yes, we still ask that you submit it. I do want to emphasize that when you're submitting your Schedule E, it is important to note that you must have some participation listed, i.e., if you don't have any sub-consultants, so hopefully that your company is the one that is certified. The amendments to the program, and I was waiting for this question to come up regarding Schedule E. The amendments to the program states that if you submit a Schedule E with no LSLBE participation, that your proposal not be accepted. In that amendment, it also states that you must have some participation listed. And that is why I talk so much about the certification. That is an important component to the city's local and small local business program. I hope that is clear to everyone. Although you do not have sub-consultants, please submit this required Schedule E. You can write across there, no sub-consultants. Reminder, 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 in order to be counted, you must be certified. Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Vivian. There is a follow-up question. So one of the individuals is already a current grantee of the city of Oakland and using iSupplier. Do they need to upload certificates or is it on site already?
Paul, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Which certificate are they referring to? The local, small local business certification or?
Angela, do you want to clarify?
Yes,
Can you note which certificates
Hello.
you're referring to?
the local small business certificate.
Paul, I'll take it then. No, you can just include it in your proposal. You do not have to upload it separately. Just include it inside of your proposal. It makes it a lot easier for us to see that you are currently certified. Please make sure that it is current. And if it's due to expire again, I ask that you start the process ASAP. So we can make sure that you're certified by the time the proposals are due. Okay?
Is that through the City of Oakland website?
I'm sorry. What through the
Oh, the certificate, like if we wanted to, just to make sure that it's up to date.
Yes, there is a City of Oakland website that lists all the certified businesses that will list your business as certified as well. What the department does too is that we will go into our certification database as we receive the proposals and verify the certification. But if you need a current copy of your certification, please ask for that offline and we will get a copy to you as soon as possible if you don't have it. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you for that. Next question is regarding references. Can you clarify what is needed? The wording around prime consultants and proposed project managers does not clearly apply to this RFP. Actually, it does. Think about references, right? Like business references, folks that you have worked for. So if you have someone that is a proposed manager, so the person who will be leading this effort, there should be references for that individual on their capacity and capability to be able to lead this work moving forward. I hope that's clear on that front. We want to make sure that the staffing that is being aligned is not just a name, but we understand that they're the capabilities and background that they have to get the outcomes achieved in the RFP, leading this effort. Next question, we could use some clarification on the funding process for OUSD and Oakland Head Start. The originating legislation, expanding services, and the RFP use different language to describe the process of funding and assessing if capacity is reached. Our question is, what does this look like? What is the implementations partner role, and how much of the funds are anticipated to be available in the first few years? This is essentially what your plan and your proposal would look like. Oakland Unified and Oakland Head Start are high priority in terms of being served and supported with this funding in particular. And so we're looking to see how you will do that implementation. There's not specific guidance on percentages or how does that look moving forward. And so we're looking for the strategies that you would use to support that moving forward. And the available funding piece I noted earlier, we don't have the projections from the city for the next few years, but we anticipate they will be at least equivalent to what this particular year's funding. I gave the table of how much is for early childhood, for college access, and for administration of this overall initiative throughout the city. So those are the numbers that you would work with. You know, this is only so much money. It is a large amount of money. So we're mindful about like the extent and impact that could be, at least from my perspective. Our contractors, the same thing as nonprofit organizations to which we make sub grants for specific services. I'm going to give that to WD.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Perfect.
Yes, sub consultants, sub grantees, the same. Yes.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, is there an expectation for a planning phase giving newness of the commission, accountability officer, and receipt of funds? Planning also relevant given the unresolved litigation related to Measure C. So I personally, yes, have an awareness of the newness of it. And while there are specific outcomes associated, they are general. And so we're looking to the proposed plans on how that would be developed. And so that should be factored as appropriate into your organization's proposal. And I know Measure C is on the pending blocks, and so fingers crossed for this next 15, 20 days that we have in front of us. Okay, do we also need to address the prime consultant component, or will references for the proposed project manager fulfill this requirement? So it depends if you have prime consultants. If you have someone that you are partnering with, that will be a key implementation partner. You would need to provide, fulfill that requirement. If you don't have that, then that would be a no to that question. We are assuming that beyond OUSD and Oakland Head Start recipients can include the mixed delivery system, centers, family child care, FFN. The ordinance and the RFP specifically mention FFN. Family child care is not mentioned. Our assumption is that includes, yes, that is correct. It does include the mixed delivery system, and there is some center language in there. Okay, the RFP states that the early childhood implementation partner, the implementation partner must be administered by a public agency. I interpret that to mean you are correct in that in particular, but that does not prohibit a public agency being a partner in that process. So those consultants and that I believe Schedule E, that's kind of a place for that moving forward. Okay, I'm a little parched from reading all those questions. So I'm gonna pause and you received a lot of information. So again, I'm gonna open it up to the group. Are there additional questions or clarifications that folks have? All right, you're ready to write some fabulous proposals. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. This is a brand new initiative in the city and lots of good work to be implemented. So looking forward to reading those proposals. If the applicant is not nonprofit, what, if anything, do we substitute for the IRS tax exempt letter? I'm assuming exempt letter and form 990. I'll kick that over to DWES.
If your firm is not a nonprofit organization, then you need not worry about the 990 or the IRS letter. In the case of a nonprofit, of course, you submit that, you have proof of that. Nonprofits versus profits would not have a requirement such as that. So I think that's the short version of an answer to your question. If that wasn't clear, please let me know, whoever submitted the question, if there was more to the question.
Okay, it looks
Okay.
not. Next question is Schedule D required for SLBE points?
No, Schedule D is not required for SLBE points. The SLBE points are awarded based on the participation that you receive. Now, remind you, your firm must be certified in order to receive those preference points and meet at least a minimum of 50%. And that is where we start applying the preference points. Okay. So let me just reconfirm this, that if your firm is not certified when that proposal is due, then we cannot count you. In order to be counted, you must be certified. So XYZ company submits that proposal. They're in the process of being certified, but they have not completed the process yet, then you cannot be counted. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Hopefully that was clear. Thank you, Vivian, for responding to that. I would suggest that if you had a list of questions written out, because I see some have numbered their questions or were very targeted in messaging, feel free to send that particularly to me via email to make sure that that's captured properly. Are there other questions? I would remind folks also, there were a few folks who came in a little bit later in the presentation. If you haven't done so already, please make sure your full name and organization is listed in the chat. There is a difference between those who registered and those who actually attended. So much appreciated on that front. Okay, and Angela graciously has flagged those who should be putting their name and organization in the chat. Okay, how do SLBE requirements apply to public agencies? And that is a DWES question. I'm gonna get good at that acronym.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? I'm so sorry, I was muted.
No worries. The question is, how does the SLBE requirements apply to public agencies?
It does not apply to public agencies. In the case of a public agency, we still ask that the Schedule E be submitted, indicate public agency, and what we do with the public agency when we do our compliance review, we'll move them down to the bottom since it does not apply to public agencies at all. Okay. This applies to regular nonprofits. Public agencies are put into a separate category. Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Amanda, you had a question about budget Q.
It was, please see the budget question above about submitting a 5-year budget. For out years, will there be the opportunity to modify the budget as needed because things change and lessons are learned, et cetera?
No, absolutely. So again, we don't have the numbers for the future years and anticipate at least like a baseline of the funds in this year one. So yeah, there would be projections. Again, this is like a proposed plan. That detail goes into your contract. And so there's opportunities in that realm I would default to a DWES about any budget modifications in the future, if they can speak to that.
Offline, Jennifer, if we could talk, please.
Sure,
Thank you.
so we'll follow up on that. All righty. Are there any other questions that I might have missed? There was a lot to go through. Very good questions out there. Again, reminder that September 21st, 2 p.m. Wednesday deadline, super important. Get your certifications in. We are all here to help you to realize that and get submitted on time. We are open and available for questions. If you have those, I will be working on the addendum with the questions that have been received in these pre-proposal meetings to make sure that they're addressed. I have also received some emails, so it should be a lengthy addendum coming to you. This video will also be posted via iSupplier, but also on the Children's Initiative website, so you'll have access to that to review it at a later point in time. If you should need, do a final round if there are any questions before we close out for this morning. Surprised we got that done in an hour, actually. Okay, Christine, can you clarify, is the SLB requirement does not apply to public agency? Does the certification requirement with the city of Oakland apply?
Either one will apply. Either one. No certification, no SLBE requirements, nothing. And I see that in her question, just an FYI, that her acronym was SLEB, and that is SLEB, which represents Alameda County. Again, please remember, ours is SLBE and not SLEB. And a lot of companies make that same mistake. So it's understandable, but please remember that portion, okay? Thank you.
Agreed, Vivian. I just came to the county, so I'm like, oh, they're thinking Alameda County.
Yes.
So perfect. Awesome. I think that was sufficient in response. All right, going once, going twice. If there are no further questions, I appreciate, same as Kristen, I appreciate your time, your patience. Again, this is a new initiative and timelines are really tight. So appreciate that. Again, we are open and available to answer any of your questions that you may have. I've responded at all hours to make sure you are supported as best as possible. Again, contact me, and I look forward to seeing your proposals. Have an excellent rest of the week, and thank you. See you all.